Imagine a world where people wandered from place to place, gathering wild plants and hunting animals to survive. This was life for humans for thousands of years. But then something extraordinary happened. People began to settle down and grow their own food. This shift, known as the Agricultural Revolution, marked one of the most significant turning points in human history. It transformed how people lived, worked, and interacted with their environment. In this video, we'll explore how the Agricultural Revolution changed everything, from daily routines to the rise of civilizations. Before the agricultural revolution, humans lived as hunter-gatherers. They moved constantly, following animal herds and searching for edible plants. Life was unpredictable and survival depended on nature's whims. People lived in small groups, rarely staying in one place for long. Their tools were simple and their shelters were temporary. Food was shared among the group and everyone contributed to finding it. This way of life shaped human society for millennia, but it also had its limit. As populations grew, the need for a more reliable food source became clear. Around 10,000 years ago, in regions like the Fertile Crescent, people began experimenting with planting seeds and domesticating animals. This was the dawn of farming. Instead of relying solely on wild resources, humans learned to cultivate crops like wheat and barley. They also started keeping animals such as sheep, goats, and cattle. This new way of life allowed people to produce more food than they needed immediately, leading to food surpluses. Farming communities began to form, and people started building permanent homes. One of the key innovations of the agricultural revolution was the domestication of plants. Early farmers selected the best seeds from wild plants to grow crops that were more nutritious and easier to harvest. Over generations, these plants changed, becoming more suited to human needs. Wheat, rice, and maize are just a few examples of crops that were domesticated during this period. This process not only increased food production but also allowed communities to settle in one place and plan for the future. Alongside plants, animals were also domesticated. Early farmers realized that certain animals could be tamed and bred for specific purposes. Sheep and goats provided meat, milk, and wool. Cattle and oxen were used for plowing fields and transportation. Dogs helped with hunting and protection. The domestication of animals made farming more efficient and provided new sources of food and materials. It also changed the relationship between humans and the natural world, as people began to manage and care for animals in new ways. Reliable food sources, people no longer needed to move constantly. Villages and towns began to appear with permanent houses made from mud, stone, or wood. These settlements became centers of community life, where people could share resources, ideas, and labor. Permanent homes allowed for the development of new technologies and crafts such as pottery and weaving. Over time, these villages grew into larger towns and eventually cities, laying the foundation for modern civilization. Farming made it possible to produce more food than was needed for immediate survival. These food surpluses could be stored for times of scarcity or traded with neighboring communities. Surpluses also freed some people from the daily task of finding food, allowing them to specialize in other activities. This led to the development of new skills and professions, such as toolmaking, construction, and trade. The ability to store and manage food was a major step forward for human society. As farming communities grew, not everyone needed to work in the fields. Some people became artisans, making pottery, tools, and clothing. Others became builders, traders, or leaders. This specialization allowed societies to become more complex and efficient. People could exchange goods and services, leading to the growth of markets and trade networks. Specialization also encouraged innovation, as individuals focused on perfecting their crafts and developing new technology. Agricultural revolution spurred the development of new technologies. Farmers invented tools like the plow and irrigation systems to make their work easier and more productive. Pottery was used to store food and water, while weaving provided clothing and shelter materials. These technological advances improved daily life and allowed communities to support larger populations. As technology spread, it connected distant regions and encouraged further innovation. Permanent settlements and food surpluses, societies became more organized. Leaders emerged to manage resources and resolve conflicts. Social hierarchies developed, with some people holding more power or wealth than others. Families and clans formed the basis of communities, and new roles appeared such as priests, warriors, and merchants. These social structures helped maintain order and allowed societies to grow and prosper. As communities produced more goods, they began to trade with each other. Farmers exchanged surplus crops for tools, pottery, or other items they needed. Trade routes developed, connecting distant villages and spreading ideas, technologies, and cultures. Markets became central places for exchange, fostering relationships between different groups. Trade not only improved material wealth but also encouraged cooperation and cultural exchange. Villages grew as more people settled in one place. Homes clustered together and communal spaces like meeting areas or storage buildings appeared. People worked together to build infrastructure such as roads and irrigation canals. The sense of community strengthened as families cooperated to manage resources and solve problems. Over time, some villages expanded into towns, becoming important centers of trade and culture. As villages grew larger, some transformed into cities. Cities became hubs of activity with thousands of people living and working together. They featured complex layouts including streets, markets, temples, and public spaces. Cities attracted artisans, traders, and leaders, becoming centers of innovation and culture. The rise of cities marked a new era in human history, paving the way for the development of civilization. With the growth of cities and trade, people needed ways to keep track of goods, transactions, and events. Writing systems emerged, allowing for the recording of information. Early forms of writing such as cuneiform and hieroglyphics were used to document harvests, trade deals, and laws. Record-keeping helped societies organize and manage resources more effectively, supporting the growth of complex civilization. Agricultural revolution also brought changes in religion and culture. As people settled, they built temples and held ceremonies to honor gods believed to control the harvest. Art, music, and storytelling flourished in these new communities. Shared beliefs and traditions helped unite people and gave meaning to their lives. Religion and culture became central to community identity, influencing everything from daily routines to major celebrations. With more reliable food supplies, populations began to grow rapidly. Larger families could be supported and communities expanded. This growth led to the development of new settlements and the spread of farming techniques to new regions. As populations increased, societies became more complex, with new challenges and opportunities. Managing resources and maintaining order became essential tasks for leaders and communities. Farming changed the landscape in many ways. Forests were cleared to make fields and rivers were diverted for irrigation. These changes allowed for more food production but also affected local ecosystems. Some animals and plants disappeared from farmed areas while others thrived. The environmental impact of agriculture is still felt today as people continue to balance food production with the health of the planet. While farming brought many benefits, it also introduced new challenges. Crop failures due to drought, pests, or disease could threaten entire communities. Managing water and soil became crucial for success. Farmers had to develop strategies to protect their crops and animals, such as building storage facilities and creating irrigation systems. These challenges pushed people to innovate and adapt, shaping the future of agriculture. Success of farming in one region inspired others to adopt similar practices. Farming techniques spread across continent, adapting to different climates and environments. People shared seeds, tools, and knowledge, leading to the development of diverse agricultural traditions. This exchange connected distant cultures and helped shape the world's food systems. The spread of agriculture was a slow but transformative process, influencing societies everywhere. As agriculture spread, people experimented with new crops and farming methods. Different regions developed their own staple foods, such as rice in Asia, maize in the Americas, and wheat in Europe. Farmers learned to rotate crops, use fertilizers, and manage pests. These innovations increased yields and made farming more sustainable. The diversity of crops and techniques enriched diets and supported growing populations. Agricultural revolution set the stage for the rise of great civilizations. Stable food supplies allowed societies to build monumental structures, develop writing, and create complex governments. Civilizations like Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley flourished thanks to agriculture. These societies made lasting contributions to art, science, and culture, shaping the course of human history for centuries to come. Managing water was essential for successful farming. Early farmers built canals, ditches, and reservoirs to bring water to their fields. Irrigation allowed crops to grow in dry areas and protected them from drought. Water control also supported larger populations and enabled the growth of cities. These engineering feats required cooperation and planning, demonstrating the power of organized communities. Storing food was a major challenge for early farmers. They developed methods to dry, smoke, or ferment crops and meat, extending their shelf life. Granaries and storage pits protected food from pests and spoilage. These innovations ensured that communities could survive during lean times and supported population growth. Food preservation remains an important part of agriculture today. Early farmers relied on simple tools made from stone, wood, and bone. Over time, they developed more advanced implements such as plows, sickles, and hoes. These tools made planting, harvesting, and processing crops easier and more efficient. The invention of metal tools marked a major leap forward, increasing productivity and allowing for larger-scale farming. Men played a crucial role in the agricultural revolution. They were often responsible for planting, harvesting, and processing crops. In many societies, women managed household food supplies and contributed to the development of farming techniques. Their knowledge of plants and food preparation was essential for community survival. The contributions of women helped shape the course of agricultural history. Farming changed family life in many ways. Children helped with chores, learning skills from their parents. Families worked together to plant, tend, and harvest crops. The stability of settled life allowed for larger families and stronger community bonds. Family traditions and knowledge were passed down through generations, creating a sense of continuity and belonging. Shift to farming brought changes in diet and health. People had more reliable access to food, but their diets became less varied. Reliance on a few staple crops sometimes led to nutritional deficiencies. However, the ability to store food reduced the risk of starvation. Over time, societies learned to diversify their crops and improve nutrition, balancing the benefits and challenges of agricultural life. With more free time and resources, people began to develop arts and crafts. Pottery, weaving, and metalworking became important skills. Artisans created beautiful and useful objects, from decorated pots to woven baskets. These crafts reflected the values and beliefs of their communities, adding richness to daily life and leaving a lasting legacy for future generations. As production increased, people gathered in markets to buy, sell, and trade goods. Markets became lively centers of social and economic activity, where people exchanged not only products but also news and ideas. The growth of markets supported the development of towns and cities, creating new opportunities for trade and cooperation. Managing larger communities required new forms of governance. Leaders and councils were chosen to make decisions, resolve disputes, and organize communal projects. Laws and rules were established to maintain order and protect resources. Governance structures became more complex as societies grew, laying the groundwork for future governments and legal systems. With more people living together, conflicts sometimes arose over land, resources, or leadership. Communities developed ways to resolve disputes, such as negotiation or mediation. At the same time, cooperation was essential for building infrastructure, managing water, and defending against threats. The balance between conflict and cooperation shaped the development of early societies. Religion played a central role in agricultural societies. People believed that gods or spirits controlled the weather, harvests, and fertility of the land. Rituals and ceremonies were performed to ensure good crops and protect communities from disaster. Temples and religious leaders became important parts of society, guiding moral values and community life. As trade expanded, people developed new ways to transport goods. Carts, boats, and pack animals made it easier to move crops and products over long distances. Improved transportation connected distant communities, encouraged trade, and spread new ideas. The development of roads and waterways was a key factor in the growth of early civilizations. Farming required careful planning and timing. Early societies developed calendars to track the seasons and schedule planting and harvesting. Observing the sun, moon, and stars helped people predict weather and plan agricultural activities. Timekeeping became an essential tool for organizing community life and ensuring successful harvests. In more complex societies, the need for rules became clear. Early laws regulated land use, water rights, and trade. They helped resolve disputes and protect community interests. Written laws, such as the Code of Hammurabi, provided a framework for justice and order. The development of legal systems was a major achievement of agricultural societies. Stability of agricultural life allowed people to express themselves through art. Paintings, sculptures, and music became important parts of community life. Artistic expression reflected the values, beliefs, and experiences of early societies. It also helped preserve traditions and pass knowledge to future generations. As societies grew, the need for education increased. People taught children farming skills, crafts, and social rules. Knowledge was passed down through stories, songs, and hands-on learning. Over time, formal education systems developed, supporting the growth of science, mathematics, and literature. Education became a cornerstone of civilization. Agricultural revolution had lasting effects on human society. It enabled the growth of cities, the rise of governments, and the development of technology. It also changed the relationship between humans and the environment, creating both opportunities and challenges. The legacy of the agricultural revolution can still be seen in the way we live, work, and eat today. Despite its many benefits, agriculture also brought new problems. Soil depletion, overpopulation, and social inequality became issues for early societies. Managing these challenges required innovation and cooperation. Today, we continue to face similar problems, reminding us of the importance of sustainable agriculture and responsible resource management. Today's agriculture is the result of thousands of years of innovation. Modern farmers use advanced technology, such as tractors, irrigation systems, and genetic engineering, to produce more food than ever before. However, the basic principles of planting, tending, and harvesting remain the same. Modern agriculture faces new challenges, including climate change and environmental protection, but it continues to build on the foundations laid by early farmers. The agricultural revolution changed the world. It allowed human populations to grow and spread across the globe. Different regions developed unique agricultural traditions, shaping cultures and economies. The exchange of crops, animals, and ideas connected distant societies, creating a global network that continues to evolve today. Looking back at the agricultural revolution, we can learn valuable lessons about adaptation, innovation, and sustainability. The challenges faced by early farmers are still relevant today. By understanding our past, we can make better choices for the future, ensuring that agriculture continues to support healthy communities and a thriving planet. Domestication is the process of adapting wild plants and animals for human use. Through selective breeding, early farmers changed the characteristics of crops and livestock, making them more useful and productive. Domestication was a cornerstone of the agricultural revolution, enabling people to control their food supply and build stable communities. Surplus is an amount of something left over after basic needs have been met. In agriculture, surpluses of food allowed people to store supplies, trade with others, and support larger populations. Surpluses were essential for the development of specialization, trade, and complex societies during the agricultural revolution. Civilization refers to complex societies with cities, governments, writing, and advanced technology. The agricultural revolution made civilization possible by providing stable food supplies and supporting population growth. Civilizations have shaped human history through their achievements in art, science, and culture, leaving a lasting legacy for the world.